Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris from Worldwide Camera Exchange. Mamiya C330 and Mamiya C220 cameras, very nicely made, mechanical, twin lens, 6x6, 2¼ square film cameras. I've produced another video which discusses the functionality of the various models and the differences between the various models. What I'm going to do now is just talk about the main features you want to look for when you're buying secondhand. Okay, as always in these videos, what I'm going to do is recommend you look at three things. Look at cosmetics, look at mechanics, look at the optics. If you can get a clean bill of health in those three areas, you can be sure you've got a good, reliable camera. Okay, so first of all, look at the cosmetics. Check out the top. Make sure there's no nasty wear, no nasty dings, no nasty scratches on the top there. Make sure that there are no nasty knocks or marks on the back edges or the bottom. This one has a few little marks on the base, that's just wear and tear. That's completely acceptable. What you don't want is heavy wear, and what you don't want are signs of abuse. Have a very careful look at the front focusing standard here. This is very vulnerable. And if this gets knocked, it can knock the focusing out of alignment. So you want to make sure that's clean. Also, just check the lens. Make sure the filter threads on the lens, both taking and viewing lenses are clean, because they're quite vulnerable. You don't want anything with dents. Once you've satisfied yourself that it hasn't been heavily used, that it hasn't been abused, then just go on to the mechanics. Now, most of the mechanics are actually in the lens. The camera body itself is relatively simple. You should check the focusing. The body obviously is responsible for the focusing. As I said, make sure that the front standard is clean, not dented. Make sure it moves in and out nice and smoothly. If it's been knocked, this will probably be quite tight. Check the teeth there and there. Make sure they're not heavily worn or not damaged. Again, if they've been knocked, they can get damaged. While it's racked right out like this, just check the bellows. Make sure the bellows are clean. You don't want to see any excessive wear on the bellows, or obviously any holes in the bellows. Just quickly as an aside, test films. Yep, of course, always put a test film through. That'll allow you to check there's a light type. That'll allow you to check the lens is focusing correctly and the shutter speeds are working well. And it'll also allow you to check for light leaks through the bellows. But don't just rely upon a film. Do go through these checks that I'm outlining now, because a film won't pick up on all these problems. So check the bellows there. Moving to the back of the camera, just pop the back open. There, and just check out the light seals. Now, like night follows day. If a camera of this age, 35 plus years old, hasn't been serviced recently, the light seals will need to be replaced. There's a foam strip here. There's a foam strip down there, up there. There's a rope seal which runs around there. When they disintegrate, particularly the foam, it's very nasty and sticky. And I don't know if you can see there, it is beginning to go on this camera. It becomes a nasty, black, sticky, tar-like mess. If you can see that, or if the sponge has lost its sponginess, those seals will need to be replaced, because eventually they will start to let through light. So check that out on the camera body as well. And just finally on the camera body, take the viewfinder off. Just make sure the viewfinder is opening and closing. It should be. When they get knocked, if they get knocked here, often this mechanism starts to stick and it doesn't open and close properly. So if that isn't doing what it should be doing, then be cautious. It might have been knocked. But more importantly, have a look here. If you can take the screen out and have a look under the screen, just check the screen's clean, and just make sure that the glass underneath the screen is clean. Make sure that the mirror there is clear of scratches, and most importantly, clear of fungus. I'll put a link up that describes more about fungus, nasty, evil stuff, and you really should know about it. So make sure there's no fungus on the mirror in the viewing mechanism. Now, the most important thing on these is always to check the lens. Move the knob here to unlock. Rack the lens right back. The spring that holds the lens on will then come up, and you can take the lens off. Now, obviously just check it cosmetically, make sure it's clean, check it mechanically, stick it down to 1 second, make sure it's firing in 1 second. And make sure that's opened up. There you go. Make sure it's firing in 1 second. You can't time it exactly, but you can hear it's a nice, healthy, mechanical whirring sound. You can hear it opening, you can hear it closing. There's no stuttering. It's a very positive, nice sound. Go to half a second. Obviously it's faster. You can't time it, but you can hear it's doing as it should be, what it should be. If the shutter is beginning to stick, if it's stuttering, the lens needs a service, and again, that's quite expensive. Go up to a 500th of a second. Hold it up to a bright light and just look through the lens at a light and just fire the shutter. Make sure you can see a quick flash of light. You can't time it to 500th, but as long as you can see light, you know it's opening. And if it's opening at a 500th, and if it's a nice healthy sound down at a second, you can be sure the shutter itself is working well. Look at the aperture, open it up on B, and then just use this there, open it up on B, and then just use this, sorry, a bit fiddly, use this little lever here, just to make sure that the aperture is opening and closing. The final thing you can check, stick a flash in, flash coaxial socket in there, stick it on the X setting for the X synchronization, stick it on the 500th, and again, just fire it with a flash connected, just to make sure you can see the quick flash of the flash flashing as you fire the shutter. That'll show you that the flash is synchronizing properly with the shutter. As a quick aside, if it isn't, it's always worth just cleaning up that little socket there. You can get a very small little drill bit and just gently put it in and just give it a little clean. That will sort out flash synchronization problems 9 times out of 10. So once you've checked out that mechanically it's good, you've checked out that the cosmetics are good, the final thing, probably the most important thing, is just to check the glass. Back to B, open the shutter up and just look through it. And just make sure there's no nasty misting or fungus inside. If there is, just walk away. You don't want anything to do with the lens with fungus inside. Have a look at the front elements, have a look at the back elements, use the torch on a mobile phone, just make sure they're free of scratches. 1 or 2 surface scratches, not the end of the world, but the price you pay should reflect that the lens is scratched. When you look through, 1 or 2 spots of dust, not the end of the world. They are quite prone to get dust inside. A little bit of dust, that's fine. A lot of dust, you should get that cleaned. But as I said, whatever you do, make sure there's no fungus. Okay, so you've checked out the cosmetics, the mechanics, the optics on this. You've checked out the cosmetics on the body, you've checked out mechanically, it's all sound, and you've checked out the optics, mainly the screen and the mirror. Hopefully you've got a clean bill of health in all those areas, and if you have, you can be fairly sure you've got a good, reliable camera. You may need to get a bit of servicing work done on it, but if you do, you can be confident that the camera is going to serve you for a long time to come. I hope that's useful. If you have any questions, please stick them in the comments box below. I always get back to people when I can. Otherwise, please subscribe and like, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.